We're absolutely jacked up for the 2025 NFL season. The Hall of Fame game kicked off last week, and you know what? We can't wait. It's time for our way too early NFL Week 1 best bets and picks right now. Welcome, football fans, to another edition of IDP Plus Bets. What is up, folks? I'm one of your hosts, the DGen Doc, and I'm joined by my brother in degeneracy, Mr. Derek Bennett, aka Professor Locks. How we doing tonight, brother?
Doing well. I'm absolutely loving the title of this episode. Way too early. This is all me. Like
This is right.
somebody always shows up late to things, likes to sleep in. I'm the guy that gets up at 4:30 most mornings, and I'm in the studio ready to rock and roll 15-20 minutes ahead
That's
of
true.
time.
Yeah, we won't.
And what's better than talking bets way too early?
We won't name names here, but clearly my co-host is throwing me under the rug. Yes, if we're talking way of life, Derek is an early riser, and he is definitely going to be in here prepared, ready to go. Some of us, we fly by the seat of our pants, but he talked me into it because we're just so excited for the NFL season. We got to witness, we're recording this on Friday night. Last night was the Hall of Fame game. We got to see the rebirth of Trey Lance and realize that if Jared Goff goes down, the Lions are absolutely screwed because Kyle Allen and Hendon Hooker looked like hot garbage. But alas, we are here and we are talking way too early Week 1 picks. The way this is going to work, folks, is we are going to go through every single game of NFL Week 1. We are going to give our quick breakdowns of each team. We're going to talk the matchup, and we're going to give our bets for that game. Now, what our best bet would be. Now, at the end, we're going to go ahead and highlight our top 2 to 3 plays. We're going to go 2 locks and an underline money line dog there. An underdog we're going to pick. Some of these we want you to bet right now because we think the number is only going to get worse. Some of them, as we go through this exercise, may be flippity floppy a little bit. Some of these a little bit tougher. Want to wait for some more news because they're that close. But we're jacked up. We hope you're excited. So we are talking NFL Week 1. We are shooting this 5 weeks in advance, and then we'll see how it plays out as
August
we launch into the future there. So before we jump into that, of course, we've got to talk some of the news. There's been a ton of news highlighted by just a couple hours ago. We've got some NFC East drama, some drama queens requesting out of their teams, and Mr. Micah Parsons has requested a trade. Not only has he requested a trade, he also went on this long rant and monologue about how he feels disrespected and yada, yada, yada. And, as a Giants fan, I'm just looking at this like, trouble in Dallas. Yes, please. So what is the takeaway here? Micah Parsons looks like essentially, for those that like reading into a little bit, they tried to do a back office deal with him without his agent. And basically a front office, Jerry Jones met with him and kind of was like, hey, this means you're locked in, right? We're good. And he's like, dude, go to my agent for my deal. It's like, what are we talking about here? So what's your takeaways here other than Dallas is a bunch of clowns?
Yeah, whether it's Jerry or Steven or the other Jerry or whoever's
nepotism Jones, baby.
Yeah, all the Joneses down in Dallas. I don't know what they're doing, to be honest with you. He wanted a deal last year.
Right.
He decided to be a little bit patient, say, okay, whatever. You had Dak last year. CD got signed to a massive extension. But, Micah Parsons at this point is by far the best player on their defense. One of the best defensive ends in the league.
Oh, yeah.
My first reaction,
all 4 seasons,
as soon as the notification popped up on my phone, like a couple minutes later, I shot you a text. So Cincinnati's trading Trey Hendrickson to Dallas for Micah Parsons, and maybe throwing a second round pick in there or something like that.
I like
Gary's never going to do that, but what
I
the
like
hell are teams doing with these defensive ends that have been nothing but solid over the
Well, I
last
like
2 or
how
3
you
years?
bring up Trey Hendrickson. I want to bring up another guy who requested a trade, excuse me, and Scary Terry
Yeah,
McLaurin out in Washington.
right.
They're having contract issues, so we've got three huge
Right.
stars for their teams. Like absolutely,
Massive.
without them, this is not you're not going to reach the level of potential that you
Oh,
think
yeah.
you can. And
Sure.
it's three very similar situations. Now
Yep.
there nuances and things like that, but
Right.
essentially the team and the player are not close on where they view their worth and their
Yeah.
value. And everyone says it, and unfortunately, the villains of them all, the Eagles, do this very well, but they pay their
Paying
studs
early.
early.
Yep.
You avoid all this nonsense, and yes, it's kind of one of those things where okay, it's hard to bite the bullet at the time, but
Right.
a couple years down the road, you are doing the right thing for your future. It is kind of taking a hit in the front end for potential gains there instead of waiting, and now
Yep.
you're at the precipice of like this is going to explode. And we've seen
Right.
all three of those guys, Terry McLaurin, Michael Parsons, Trey Hendrickson, have requested a trade at some point.
Yep.
Now, the second question is, are any of them actually going to get traded?
So that was going to be my question to you. I don't see any way in hell
No,
that Jerry trades Micah Parsons. I
no.
don't see the Commanders trading Terry McLaurin. And Trey
Nope.
Hendrickson has been out there trying to look around a little bit here and there for
Yeah,
months at this point. Nothing's come of that. So I think I mean the one that's interesting to me is Terry McLaurin, to
yeah,
be honest with you,
yeah.
just because they did bring in Debo Samuel this past offseason. It doesn't sound like they're anywhere close to coming up with a deal.
Yeah, I heard like
Um,
they team offered him 25 mil a year and he's wanting at least 32 or something like
30,
that. I mean, that's
32,
per
33, something
year
like that.
is that's a 7
Right.
7 mil a
But
year
my
difference.
question to you is like, what team would trade for him at this point? Like, you have your roster set. You have
Right.
basically your cap room set
Yeah, I
for
was
this
thinking
upcoming season.
really all these it's hard with all these guys because it is so late in the process and you've already
Oh yeah,
like we've went through, and looked at these rosters and these
yeah.
teams and I mean, do you obviously like Pittsburgh could use a wide receiver too. That would be like
The
something to
the one that came to my mind was the Bills
the bit.
in Buffalo
Yeah,
because, Bean has been known to trade a first round pick for a
right.
stud wide receiver in Stephon Diggs a few years back,
Do we
and they
say
don't have a lock-in wide receiver one.
they don't? That's a good point. But I mean, are they a little bit soured by the Amari Cooper situation?
I don't
I don't
know.
think it was a disaster, but it
Yeah,
didn't really pan out to where they wanted. Now, I agree at
right.
this point in their careers, Terry McLaurin's much better, but that means
Yeah.
you're going to have to pay more for him. Yeah,
But
without having their
but are they
cap
desperate
situation.
enough to do it after being
Right.
so close, getting to the
Yeah.
division round AFC championship for the past 3, 4 seasons?
Yeah.
Like,
I know they like Keon Coleman to take a step. They brought in Josh
right,
Palmer.
right.
I
And
think it
then
would make sense if,
yeah,
like you said, that's a great pull for the Bills because if you imagine him on that roster, I mean, I think they're already a Super Bowl
he
favorite.
slots in
So,
perfect.
I
I
mean,
mean,
but yeah,
and
that would be
but
nice.
I think there's also a difference between McLaurin and Trey Hendrickson and then Micah Parsons because McLaurin and Hendrickson, to me, are much more professional, just
Mhm.
individuals. Where Micah Parsons, he likes to show the ego sometimes. He doesn't mind being a
You got
little
a
bit more
podcast, man.
entertaining. Exactly.
Fucking
So
podcasters, these losers.
of the three, I could definitely see Micah Parsons, being a little bit more headstrong and
Yeah.
sitting out some considerable amount of time.
Oh, I mean, he wrote a lot. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't read it all, but he wrote a lot. And
Yeah.
he's definitely emotion and passion, and I get it. I think passion is a great thing, especially if you're a fan, you love to have your players have passion. But yeah, that's going to
Sure.
be a very hostile situation. I mean, Dallas is a team that has enough drama just due to the situation, Jerry
Yep.
Jones, the star, America's team. They've got enough that they don't
Right.
need any more artificial. And this
Right.
just creates a huge can of worms. You got CeeDee Lamb tweeting about it. You got other Cowboys players changing their profile picture to pictures of Micah Parsons, which to me doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, what are we
No,
doing there? I
no.
get you want to stick up for your guy, but I mean, whatever. So
Well,
just
yeah. Anything else on that
no,
topic?
no.
Okay,
We'll move
let's
on.
let's let's move on to another team. I think both of us are we're both high on. Me a little bit less so in the Baltimore Ravens.
Right.
There was some news come out that Isaiah Likely has broken his foot.
Yeah.
What say you as far as timeline? What should we expect from Isaiah Likely
Yeah, this
moving
was
forward?
originally reported as like a ankle sprain, didn't know what it was, and it came back and was like, oh, actually it's a foot fracture.
Yeah,
So I think, both of us actually don't really exactly mind this news. Now you were a little bit higher on the Ravens than I was. Neither of them really took them in the futures market, but we
yeah,
both took Mark Andrews in his touchdown prop.
that we did.
So I think both of us are pretty happy. Obviously we want the guy likely to get better and things like that, but
Yeah,
I think this only solidifies Mark Andrews in his role.
yep,
Now, there is a chance likely could be back. That week would be 6 weeks from when it happened. It would be a little bit of a rush, but
yeah,
with the foot fracture, once it's healed, it's good to go, as we
right.
know. So there's not a huge re-injury
I
risk as
wouldn't
long
be
as he's
surprised if
given
he sat
time.
out the first week, maybe
Yeah,
the first couple of weeks. Just
right.
like you said. I mean, ideally, everything's good 6 weeks.
Hmm.
We don't necessarily see a drop off in performance with broken bones, but we're talking about a foot. So a lot of times we talk about how most bones heal in around 6 weeks. There are
Right.
certain areas in the feet where it does take a little bit longer. So I could see it taking closer to that 8 week mark
Right.
before he's
Yeah.
back.
6 weeks. 6 weeks in week one is definitely like perfect scenario, which
Yeah.
is not always life in the rehab medical world.
Yep.
So, we'll be
Especially when
keeping it
it's this early in the season, you got the whole. I mean, you don't want to
right.
rush the guy back
You don't
week one.
exactly.
So,
One little quick piece of news, and then we'll move on here. Noah Fant, the guy that we were
ooh,
kind of pounding the table and saying, if Miami lets this man leave the state of Florida, the city of Miami, without a deal, they're
yeah.
idiots. And that just confirms to me what I've already thought is that they're not serious about winning football games this year.
Yeah. And
Well,
I could almost say the same thing with the Bengals. I mean, you
right.
got a guy in Trey Hendrickson that is
They're waiting to get signed.
by far the best defender on your team,
Yeah.
and you're spending money elsewhere.
So they said,
Again,
yeah,
on
no
the
offense, signed to the Bengals. So now him and Gasecki, that muckies up some fantasy stuff there that we can get into
yeah,
in a later episode. But yeah, that is a little bit of a slap in the face to Trey Hendrickson. It's funny. I tweeted that out, and a bunch of Bengal fans were telling me like, no, 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 whatever. I'm like, the dude has led the NFL in sacks the past 2 seasons, as far as having 35
yeah,
sacks in the last 2 seasons.
yeah. I get it that
Respect
the
and
guy
pay the
doesn't.
man.
Well, I get it that he doesn't get a ton of other tackles in terms of the running game, but
Sure.
when you lead the league in sacks, like sacks usually lead to like end of drives. So I don't
It
know.
blows my mind, but
Yeah.
hey, they tell me to not worry and that it's going to happen, so we'll see. All right, before we jump into NFL Week One, I got to tell you guys about something that's going to give you a leg up in the fantasy world, and that's Bob Lugg's Fantasy Football Consistency Guide. Get a leg up on your opponents with Bob's 10th annual edition of the Fantasy Football Consistency Guide for 2025 for just $15 on Amazon, folks. Look, just search 2025 Fantasy Football Consistency Guide and get yours today. All right. Cheers to NFL Week 1. We said we're excited. So cheers, friend. Cheers to everybody listening along. Hope you take a nice swig. And if we get ready to digest NFL Week 1. And we are starting with, so the way we were going to do this, we'll do a quick breakdown of each game, give out our bets. All the lines we're going to be doing is from DraftKings just to keep it simple, nice and easy. And we were starting with NFL kickoff here. That is the Thursday night matchup
Yep.
between on September the 4th, 8:20, the first NFL game of the 2025 season. We have the Dallas Cowgirls heading to the Philadelphia Eagles, where the Dallas Cowboys are catching 7 plus 270 on the money line. Eagles laying 7 minus 340. Over under sitting at 46.5 minus 110 each way. What say you, my friend? Do you got the Super Bowl champions coming off? Obviously, great season for them. As much as it pains me to say, and you got the Cowboys coming to town with some questions at left tackle.
Mhm,
Tyler Guyton's dealing with a knee
mhm.
fracture. He's right in around that range of question mark if he'll be ready for Week 1. They just signed Lyle Collins, and you got the Eagles, who really are pretty healthy, other than Kobe Dean, who's unlikely to be ready, still on the pup with the patellar tendon tear.
Yep.
Uh, and then obviously the Parsons stuff. So,
Right.
how do you see this game?
Yeah, I mean, you like to support the NFC East and spout out that it's one of the best divisions or conference, whatever. What?
I hate him. I hate him. I hate him.
Oh,
But
I know,
as
but
a
just as a
okay,
division,
right,
you usually like to support your
NFC
division
East,
and
yes,
and how the teams usually end up playing each other pretty close.
right,
So that leads you to saying, hey, the Cowgirls can probably keep this one close. But just last year, the Eagles outscored the Cowboys 75-13.
yeah, yeah,
75-13.
yeah.
And I don't know
It's
if
pretty bad,
Dallas necessarily got better.
right?
So give me the Eagles at
Yeah.
-7.
I am also I would be on I'm on the Eagles -7 there. I think that is the play. You talked about the dominance, absolute dominance last season from the Eagles, outscoring them. Really, just neither of those games being a game, and one of those
Yeah.
games involved Kenny Pickett being the
Yeah.
starting quarterback. So
Right.
that should tell you everything. The Eagles really. I have some questions on their D line and secondary, but I have questions about the Cowboys' offensive line. And I have a
Yep.
lot of question about the defensive injuries for the Cowboys. Regardless of what happens with Micah Parsons, Trayvon Diggs coming back from major injury, DeMar Brown Overshown coming back from major injury. Guys, we don't project to be there in Week 1. So I
Right.
think, the Cowboys are the more beat up team. I
Yep.
think that they're running into an absolute buzzsaw in the Eagles. Eagles are going to be at home. They're going to be excited. Fans are going to be going
Coming off,
crazy. They're going
it's a
to
banner night. Yeah.
right. The banner's gonna drop, whatever. Yeah. So and Benedict Barkley at this point will still be healthy, right? We project. So yeah, no, I think it's the Eagles. As much as it pains me to say, I hate
Yeah.
both these teams, but I think it's the Eagles in a landslide here.
Yep.
All right, moving over to the Friday night game. We are talking the Kansas City Chiefs laying 2.5 as the road team against the Chargers, who are catching 2.5 plus 120 on the money line for the Chargers, minus 142 for Kansas City. Over under 45.5. Now, that is a home game for the Chargers, but it is in Sao Paulo, Brazil. My question to you to start off is more or less Chargers fans at this game than at SoFi Stadium.
Ooh, that's a great question. I would say probably still less,
Okay.
just because in Brazil it seems like uh, you're going to get a mixture of fandom and just you'll probably still get some Chargers fans head on down to Brazil, but you'll probably see some Steelers jerseys, some Giants jerseys, some Broncos jerseys.
Yeah,
You'll
whatever
see
they
a bunch
give
of that
out to
stuff.
the Brazilians,
Exactly, exactly.
whatever they're passing out of the door.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm taking the Kansas City Chiefs because at the end of the day, the Chiefs are still the Chiefs.
Yep.
I don't know if the Chargers necessarily did enough from a skill position standpoint out wide that it really puts them over the edge with the Kansas with the Chiefs week 1. I mean, the Chiefs still have one of the best defenses in the league, and usually early on in the seasons, defenses usually have a little bit of a leg up, and I just trust the Chiefs defense a lot more than the Chargers.
Yeah. No, I'm right there with you. The Chiefs are still one of the top dogs. You know, And as we go through these, we're obviously going to do some quick breakdowns and things like that. We're not going super in depth. If you want to go in depth, we did all 8 division previews and we're coming out with 32 team previews. So if you want much more, check that out on our channel. But as
Right.
we're talking here, look, likely no Rashi Rice, but I don't think it matters. And maybe this line gets
Nope.
better with that news. But I do like Kansas City laying the 2.5 here on the as road teams. I still have questions
Yep.
about Herbert beating good teams. He's got I think a 10-26 record against teams above 500. He's 2 and
Yeah.
7 all time against the Chiefs in his career. And
Right.
I just don't think the Chargers are quite there yet. I have questions on their cornerback room and their interior defensive line. I think, one of my questions was about the Chiefs was that left tackle position. And Josh Simmons is getting raving reports, and
Absolute
his knee looks
dog.
good. You talked about how good he was at Ohio State before the injury. Looks like they're getting another steal of a pick there. So
Yeah. Yeah.
when we think
He's
about,
he's a menace. Did you see him trying to knock some dude out a few days ago in training camp?
I did. I forget who was. Some poor backup defensive
Definitely
end was getting the business.
definitely got a little head snap on
Yeah,
the fist to the helmet, which is never necessarily a good thing. But
you
I guess
want
from a
your
Chiefs
offensive
standpoint,
lineman to
you,
be
you want
nasty.
your rookie left tackle showing some dominance and showing that he's
Yeah.
got some grit. So
No, so yeah, I mean, if that was my major question coming into the year on the Chiefs, when we look at the Super Bowl, that's really what started it. Now, obviously, the
yeah.
Eagles beat them up and down,
Outside
but
of the injury, he would have been a top 10 pick, and they
yeah,
got him at like 30. So
31, I think.
would
So
have
yeah,
been fun.
I'm going Kansas City there. X plus, you have the whole Andy Reid with extra time to prepare situation
Right.
there. Like
Right.
Harbaugh, like what he's doing, but I
Yeah.
don't think they're at that level yet. So,
Yep.
all right, we're gonna continue on to the Sunday slate of games. But before we do that, I gotta tell you guys about what's going on at idpplus.com. That is our main flagship site. If you want to be a better football fan, if you want to be better at fantasy football, if you want to be a more profitable bettor, idpplus.com is the place for you. We've got subscribers only content. We've got a subscribers only Discord. We are trying to do everything in our power 24/7, 365 days a year to improve your football experience. So check us out over on idpplus.com today. All right, we're moving on over to this Sunday slate. We're going to start with the 1 p.m. Eastern time window here. This is going to be Sunday, September 7th. This is going to be a glorious day. Like this whole,
Oh,
so,
it's gonna be awesome.
peeling back the curtain a
So
little bit. Unfortunately, I'm moving across country that week. I'm taking off
yeah.
Thursday. So I'm definitely going to be watching these games, but by Sunday, I should be moved into the new house. And I'm just going to, I got the next couple days off. I'm
You'll be
definitely
you'll be sitting in front of a TV in a bag chair probably
well, I'm
because
I'm
nothing
gonna
will be
find my
unpacked yet.
new local spot. My dad's gonna be in town. We're gonna go scope
Oh,
out a
there you
couple
go.
bars, and we'll
There you
figure
go.
it out. Because I can't wait for that start Sunday there. But Sunday the 7th, let's start kicking it off here. First up, we've got a division rivalry game, a little NFC South. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, division champs from last year, catching 2.5 as home favorites, -130 on the money line. Laying 2.5. Atlanta's catching 2.5 as home dogs, +110 on the money line. Over under sitting at 48.5 here. A little look at the injuries. Tristan Wirfs, the left tackle for the Bucks, is likely not going to be out there for that. There's kind of
Right.
been a little bit of hesitancy on what exactly the timeline's going to be having that surgery, but there's a chance he even starts on the pup. So it's likely he will not be out there. I know they're bringing a couple guys in. Falcons, they're coming in pretty healthy at this point in the season. Other than the worst injury, these teams are fairly healthy. Where are we at with this game?
Yeah, give me the Bucks. I'm pretty high on the Bucks going into this season, and one of the main reasons is they have one of the best offensive lines in the league. I know Tristan Wirfs, like you said, there's going to be some questions. Most likely, he's not going to be out there. I really don't think it matters. I mean, Atlanta has or will have two rookie
Right.
defensive linemen starting in that game, and I think that the Tampa Bay offensive line is just going to be too much for them. And outside of their offensive line, you just got skilled dudes everywhere in
Yep.
Tampa Bay. So I think their offense is just too much for them. And give me Tampa Bay laying the 2.5.
Yeah, and I'm going to be right there with you. Atlanta did sweep Tampa Bay last season. I think
Yeah,
Tampa Bay is going to have revenge on their mind.
little revenge angle.
Um,
Yep,
really, both of those games were pretty weird. One of
no
them,
doubt.
Tampa Bay absolutely had that game in control and then blew it at the end.
Yep.
One of them, Kirk Cousins, threw for 500 yards. So Atlanta did make some improvements in the secondary, which they need to. They'll be healthier. I did also want to mention Chris Godwin. Probably not 100%, maybe not even on the field at that point. But as you mentioned, Mike Evans, Emeka Buka, you've got
Jalen McMillan.
McMillan, Palmer, you've got Kate
Yep.
Otten, you got Bucky Irving, Rashad White. Like, they have dudes out there. Really, even better than a side in this one, I like the over 48.5. I think
Okay.
you're high on the Bucks. I'm pretty high on the Bucks. I like both these teams actually coming into the year. I think they're a little bit better than the market expects them to be.
Yeah.
And so I think both these offenses have the playmakers, and I've got some question marks in
Yeah.
both these defenses. I mean, last year the
Yep.
Bucks had a great offense, but the cornerbacks couldn't hang up. Right, they couldn't hold up, and that's what ultimately caused their demise. Atlanta's pass rush is very unproven. Then that leaves that secondary, that linebacking core, kind of out to dry there. So I think in a dome situation, these teams are going to put up a ton of points. So it's a high number, but I like the over 48.5 there.
I like it.
All right, moving on to the next game here. We are going to another division rivalry. Love starting off with some hatred there. We've got the Cincinnati Bengals laying 5.5 on the road against the Cleveland Browns, who are catching 5.5 and are plus 195 on the money line. Bengals minus 238 going the other way. Over under sitting at 44.5 there. How do you see this one? You're the AFC North expert. How do you see this one playing out?
Yeah. So historically, we've seen Cincinnati get off to a pretty slow start. And,
Right.
From a Cleveland standpoint, we don't know who's going to be the starting quarterback. Kenny Pickett's been out with I believe, a hamstring injury over the
Correct.
last week or two.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Flacco is who I think both of us are expecting to start week one.
Hopefully. Yep.
I don't think it really matters for the Browns who they start. They can start Joe Schmo off the street for all I care. I think Cincinnati's offense is going to get off to a much faster start this season than they have over the last few seasons, mainly because Joe Burrow is healthy and is actually participating in the preseason. So, the last 2 or 3 years, he just hasn't been. He's
Right.
been dealing with some stuff and hasn't had training camp to really get rolling. He does. So unless he gets banged up in training camp, I highly doubt that they'll put him in any preseason games. But give me Cincinnati laying the 5.5, and I also like the under 44.5. I just don't think Cleveland's going to score a whole lot, but their defense is solid. So I do think they can kind of slow Cincinnati down enough. But I don't see Cleveland scoring more than a couple touchdowns.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this is the first one I think we disagree with here. I'm going the other side.
Ooh.
It's a little bit of a
Okay.
blind fate of the Cincinnati in week one. I would not put this as your survivor. I would not put this
No.
as a lock, right? Cincinnati's just been slow out of the gates year after year after year. Now, you
Yep.
bring up a great point about Burrow finally having a healthy offseason, but you got Trey Hendrickson. Who knows when he's coming back, right? You got a couple of defensive pieces where Shamar Turner, he just got back on the field there, or Shamar Stewart, excuse me.
Yep.
They just signed him. So, what's he going to be looking like? Dax Hill's coming back from an injury. And then on the Cleveland side, Quinshon Judkins, we'll see what's going on there. They did lose cornerback Martin Emerson to an Achilles tear. He's out for the year. But
Yep.
Cleveland plays this team well. And I think
They
this is
did.
going to be an ugly game. I think we're going to be like, how the hell is this Cleveland-Cincinnati game a 3-point game going into the fourth quarter? Joe Flacco's good for a couple spike games. And this secondary is a great opportunity. Whether
Yep.
it's Cedric Tillman, whether it's Jerry Jeudy or David Njoku, Harold Fannin, whatever. They do have some pieces. I think their offensive line gets better. For me, it's a situation where Cleveland's defense is their strong suit, especially their defensive line. And, Cincinnati's weakness is their offensive line. And then you go to the flip side, Cleveland, I think, has done some improvements on the offensive line. And especially with either a disgruntled or not a lot of ramp up time Trey Hendrickson, that Cincinnati defensive line, is a little bit questionable. So I just think they keep it close. I do ultimately think that Cincinnati pulls it out, but I think 5.5 for a home dog like Cleveland. I think they have some pride, and Joe Flacco can give them a little bit of run, but definitely not one that I love. But I never love fading this Bengals week one, and it seems to work out every year. So moving on, we are going to not a division rivalry, but
Okay.
we're sticking an AFC matchup here. two teams I absolutely hate going into the year. But Miami Dolphins catching 1.5 on the road, heading over to Indianapolis, who's laying 1.5, -115 on the money line for the Colts, -105 for the Dolphins. Over under sitting at 45.5. I'll let you start it off here. Who do you have going in this one?
Yeah, give me the Dolphins on the money line. I just think that the Dolphins' season hinges on Tua being healthy,
Right.
and he'll be healthy in week 1. It may not
Hopefully.
be after that.
Right.
So I think that offense, like I said, just kind of revolves around Tua. I really don't know if Indy's offense is really going to be able to do a whole lot when you're splitting snaps in the preseason between AR and Danny Dumps, whatever you want to call him. And
Right.
then, just ultimately, Miami's offense is built on speed. This is going to be in a dome.
It's true.
You don't have to worry about weather. So, yeah, give me Miami on the money line.
Yeah, I reluctantly will take the Dolphins as well. Look, and I talked about it. We did division previews, we did team previews. There's two teams in the NFL who I have bet to have the fewest wins. It's these two teams. Colts at 17-1 and the Dolphins at 20-1. So that tells you my expectations for both teams. The Dolphins, I think, have the worst cornerback room,
Yeah.
arguably tight end room, and arguably offensive line in the league. And the Colts have no quarterback. So, in this situation, at least the Dolphins have a quarterback for now. We expect Tua to be healthy. So I will go reluctantly. I will take the Dolphins, but I really, if I could bet against both these teams, I would. So moving on. We are talking Raiders catching 3 points as road underdogs at +142 on the money line against the New England Patriots -3, -170 on the money line, over under sitting at 42.5. Two of the kind of sexy teams of this offseason, two teams with a ton of change.
Yeah.
Really, the Patriots, both these kind of win totals jumped up. We're expecting a lot, new coaches, a lot of two of the kind of biggest movers in the offseason. Where are you at with this one?
This one was a tough one for me. Ultimately, I think I'm gonna go with the Raiders,
Yeah.
and I don't necessarily think that this is one that I will be betting now or
Right.
necessarily closer to week 1. But yeah, give me the Raiders mainly just because I don't know if we can fully trust Drake May at this point. Gino is proven, even though he's coming over from Seattle. You got Pete Carroll, who's just a raw guy that'll get that defense rocking
Right.
and rolling.
Right.
And I just don't know if New England has enough offensively to put up enough points for Vegas. But I really like the under in this game.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I this was pretty much rinse repeat. Tough game, but I'm gonna take. I think it's a little bit more of a coin flip than the line suggests. I understand
Yeah,
that New England's at home, but it'll be early enough in the season where weather shouldn't be a major issue. So give me Las Vegas, catching 3 there, just because I think it's a little bit more of a coin flip. So why not catch the field goal? Why not get the extra 3 points? But the
right.
under for me is the play that I like more. The under 42.5. You have a lot of change, a lot of high expectations, but a lot of change on both
Right.
offenses. I can't imagine there's going to be a lot of preseason play. It's going to take some time for this chemistry. We talked about Stephon Diggs coming off that ACL tear. Like, we expect him to have a good season, but the first 4 weeks, we're not expecting a lot, especially not week 1. So if they're telling me their wide receiver one, New England's going to need some time to kind of break in,
Yep.
whereas Gene T, Bowers, Geno Smith may be able to hit the ground running a little bit more. I think it's going to be a very ugly game. I think, this definitely has the potential to be like a, 14-12 or
13-17.
something,
Yeah.
right? Something very ugly type of game that can definitely fall within this number. And so if it's a bit coin flip for me, I'll take the dog there in this one. But yeah, this one's a tough one. Definitely probably one of the harder ones on the slate.
Yep.
Now moving to a game, at least for me, that was one of the easier ones on the slate. We got the Arizona Cardinals heading to the New Orleans Saints. Cardinals laying 5.5 minus 245 on the money line. Saints catching 5.5 and plus 200 on the money line. Over under sitting at 42.5. Yeah, I'll lead off with this one. Arizona minus 5.5. Bet it now. I expect this number to raise. I expect this number to
Yep.
go up.
Yep.
The Saints are, I think, they're definitely in contention for the worst team in the league. The NFC South, that division I don't think is going to be very good, but I think they may very well be the worst team in that division. We
Yep.
don't even know who the quarterback's going to be, and that is never a good sign. So, is it going to be the rookie Tyler Slow? Is it going to be, Jake Hayner? Is it going to be Spencer Rattler? Like, none of those guys I have any confidence at all.
Nope.
As much as frustrating as Kyler Murray and this Cardinals team can be early in the season, they tend to be good. And that defense, especially the Will Johnson pick, Walter Nolan, I expect this
Yep.
to actually be a competent, solid team.
Agreed.
So yeah, I will be taking the Cardinals here, and this is one I would expect. I've already bet.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. Give me Arizona minus 5.5. I think between some of the things that you mentioned as far as the quarterback play, I think these offensive lines, again, both of us kind of hinge on offensive line, defensive line play a lot. And Arizona's offensive line, I think, has been getting better over the last couple of years.
Right.
And on the flip side, New Orleans has some moving parts, and I don't know if I can necessarily trust them. So, yeah, give me
Yep.
Arizona.
Defense is just getting older. I mean, the Saints, it's
Yep.
it's hard to be optimistic on that team as
Right.
much as we try to, especially those teams with low win totals. All right, we got a fun one here. Pittsburgh Steelers laying 3 on the road, minus 155 on the money line. And then we have the Jets catching 3, plus 130 home dogs, over under sitting at 38.5. This is quite the revenge game to start off the season. We've got a
swap of quarterbacks.
bunch of differing angles. You got the quarterbacks, obviously Justin Fields going from Pittsburgh to now the Jets, Aaron Rodgers from the Jets to Pittsburgh. This is a very intriguing game. I'll let you, as the Steelers fan, how do you like your team week 1?
Yeah, give me the Lurs. Yeah, I think just offensively, the Steelers have gotten a lot better on paper. I think they're going to show that at times throughout the season. The Jets defense has gotten significantly worse over the last couple of years. And I think just from another offensive line standpoint, I think we both are kind of high on the Jets offensive line, but I think the Steelers offensive line has gotten a lot better over the last year or two as well. So, yeah, give me the Steelers at -3. I think it's just kind of more of a revenge angle for Aaron Rodgers than
Right.
it is Justin Fields.
Yeah, this was a tough one for me, and it's a tough one in the sense of I like both these teams coming in the season. I'm higher on kind of both in the market, so I ultimately went with Pittsburgh as well. Pittsburgh really laid it on them last year. They beat them pretty bad at home. Now they go on the road there. Does have the potential to be an ugly game. The Jets' defensive line, if it was as good as it had been in the past, I think I kind of like them to kind of mess up that Steelers offensive line. But ultimately, I think the Steelers, the defense, they're going to be able to shut down Garrett Wilson a little bit. And I think that's going to create some issues there.
Yep.
This is a tough one for me. This is one I can definitely see myself flipping depending on, some
Yeah,
injury news or
I
things
think
that go
we'll
down.
know very, very early if the Steelers have figured out the whole run defense thing against this Jets team. Because, like you
Right.
said, they have the secondary now that they should be able to lock down Garrett Wilson. I
Right.
mean,
But
run
yeah.
defense wise, we'll see.
Right, and you bring up the point because I kind of made the positive case for the Jets was to basically run Braylon Allen, Brees Hall, and Justin Fields 40 times a game. This
Yeah.
is a much improved offensive line. The tight end, Mason Taylor's a decent blocker. They're the rookie. So that was my case for this team. And, like you said, we saw Derrick Henry, run all over this team. That they couldn't stop the run last year. So they brought in some pieces. They drafted to affect that. But we'll find out very soon if they've addressed that issue. All right, moving on here. Still in the 1 p.m. window, we have my New York Football Giants catching 7 points, which is crazy, on the road against the Washington retirement home. Washington minus 290 on the money line. Giants plus 235 on the money line. Over under sitting at 45.5 there. Coming into this one, obviously, for the Giants, left tackle Andrew Thomas needs to come back from the Liz Frank injury. We're still expecting him to. He's kind of moving around out there, but he's not got off the pup just yet. And then for Washington, Terry McLaurin, what's going on there with the holdout situation? And then Sam Cosmi, we know, is going to be out on that offensive line at right guard with that ACL injury. So how do you see this for this game?
Give me the Giants. I think,
Smart man.
What's that?
Smart man.
I tried to be. Anyways, I mean, these teams met up in week 2 and then again in week 9 last year. The first time it was a 3-point game. The second time it was a 5-point game. So both of those cover this number pretty easily. I think the New York Giants offensive line looks a hell of a lot different when Andrew Thomas is in the lineup than when he's not. And defensively, the Giants have gotten a hell of a lot better than they were last year. Now, the Commanders, I think they've gotten, I don't know if they've gotten better. They made a lot of moves in the offseason, but they have a lot of stuff going on, whether it's Terry McLaurin or Sam Cosmi, tearing his ACL in the playoff game. I just don't think that this NFC division matchup will get out of hand like I did the other one.
Yep. No, I mean, look, we can talk about Giants reloading on defense, the secondary pieces they brought in, Abdul Carter, that defensive line. You're going up against a beat up offensive line. We can talk about, how historically the Giants have kind of owned the Commanders, despite how bad or good these teams are. You talked about the biggest thing here is I'll say last year we lost by 2. We should have won. If we had a kicker, the kicker got hurt in the first game. And then we lost by 5 with Daniel Jones or Drew Lock or whoever the fuck was out there, Tommy DeVito, for the second game. I mean, like, dog shit at quarterback. We now have competency at the very least in Russell Wilson.
Yep.
I expect it, I wanted to keep my bias. I will be playing this on the money line, but I will definitely love the +7. This is one I think actually will go. It'll kind of get, the favorites typically – they get a little bit more expensive as the public starts to bet in. So I actually think this number is going to bump up a bit. I think this goes over a touchdown. So I've already bet it, but this is one I actually would kind of hold off and wait to bet a little bit because I do think it goes over a touchdown. Everyone loves the Commanders.
Yep, great point.
So, all right, next game here, we've got the Carolina Panthers taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Carolina catching 3 +136 on money line. Jacksonville laying 3 -162 on the money line there. Over under sitting at 45.5. How do you see this one playing out?
Well, with this one, I'm just pissed that this is also in the 1 o'clock window because I'll be locked in with the Steelers-Jets game. But I wanted to see how the whole Travis Hunter thing develops, and I give me the Jags in this one. I think both of these teams have definitely improved this offseason. I just think that the Jaguars hit a lot of road bumps last year and got through for a major loop. I still don't know if we can fully trust Bryce Young with Carolina. Not that we can really fully trust Trevor Lawrence, but just offensively, I think the Jags have gotten a lot better. Their defensive line should be a little bit better, hopefully. I don't know. But yeah, give me the Jags -3.
Yeah, no, this is easy for me. Jags, -3. This is a team I'm high on. I kind of played their best case scenario there. I think they have a chop for the division and a very easy division. And the Panthers, I'm not sold on Bryce Young. I know the public is. I know everyone thinks that he's magically going to turn into some guy. He's still Bryce Bum to me. You talked about the Jags defensive line giving that Carolina offensive line issues. Carolina's defense, they move some pieces around. I don't think that's fixed by any regards. I think especially when everyone's healthy, I definitely like the Jaguars over this Panthers team, especially at home. So give me the Jags there. That one's a pretty easy one for me.
Yep.
All right, we're going to move on to the late afternoon window. But before we do that, I got to tell you guys about the Fantasy Football Expo. It is next week, folks, August 8th through the 10th in beautiful Canton, Ohio. Get your tickets right now. Do not wait. Head on over to the fantasyfootballexpo.com. hang out with some of our analysts there at IDP Plus and a bunch of other folks out there. It is a great time. And we're already talking fantasy. So if we're talking fantasy, we got to be talking fast draft fantasy. It's in the name, folks. Start drafting faster today. 20 seconds on the clock. All drafts under 10 minutes. Exactly what we want. We know the guys we want to go after. We hate long clocks. Head on over to Fast Draft Fantasy. I'll make the deal sweeter right now. All you got to do, download Fast Draft Fantasy, use promo code PlusDGenDoc, deposit $50, and get $50 for free right away. Bam. That's how we sweeten the deal. Heading back to this slate here, we're getting into the 4:05 Eastern time slate. Two of the kind of early, late afternoon games. If I can find them here on this doc. There they are. Okay, so we are talking.
Nope.
It's not them. It's not them. Is it?
Come on.
I might not have it in mind. So hold on. Tell some jokes or something like that.
What do you mean? I don't have any jokes.
All right. Well, this one doesn't have a graphic, so we're rolling with it. So we are going with the Tennessee Titans against the Denver Broncos. Tennessee catching 7.5, plus 300 on the money line. Denver laying 7.5, minus 380 on the money line. Over under sitting at 41.5 here. Throw off my mojo, it gets all messed up here. All right, so how do you see this game playing out between the team with the number 1 overall draft pick and a Denver team? I know both of us are pretty high on.
Yeah, I think that the Denver defense is one of the top 2-3 defenses in the league, and going up against a rookie quarterback, you got Sean Payton, Bo Nix in that offense, should start getting things rolling early and often. Give me Denver at minus 7.5. I just think that their defense is going to be way too much for the rookie Cam Ward, and offensively, they put up some pretty good points last year. So I don't necessarily think they've gotten any worse, especially with the acquisition of Ingram and a couple new running backs coming in Dobbins and the rookie.
RJ Harvey, This one was very easy for me. I could not think of a worse situation for a rookie quarterback to play his first game against than the Denver Broncos in Mile High at Denver. You're on the road against what I think is the best defense in the NFL right now. On paper, coming in, everybody healthy. I think that secondary is absolutely disgusting, nasty. They have an underrated pass rush with Jonathan Cooper, Nick Bonito, and Zach Allen. This is a very, very good defense, top to bottom. I think Cam Ward, I like Cam Ward. I think he's, got a great potential future. They've got nowhere near the amount of talent. There it is. Good call there. The whiskey's flowing, so relax, all right? They've got nowhere near the amount of talent it takes to break this defense. So I love this Denver minus 7.5. This is one I've already bet. I would encourage you to bet now.
Yep.
I think the number's high already. It's only going to get worse. I could definitely see this going to double digits. I would probably play it up to 9. But yeah, take it now. Denver minus 7.5. One I absolutely love. All right, continuing on with the afternoon slate. We've got the San Francisco 49ers taking on the Seattle Seahawks, heading out to Seattle there. San Francisco, although on the road, minus 1.5 favorites, minus 125 on the money line. Seattle, plus 1.5, plus 105 on the money line. Over under sitting at 45.5. How say you, my friend?
Yeah, give me San Francisco in at the 1.5. Minus 1.5. I just think that Seattle offensively, I don't know what to expect of really their whole offense. With Sam Darnold coming in there, I just don't know if they're going to be able to put up enough points. Now, I can see this one getting pretty ugly as well because Seattle's defense is pretty solid still. San Francisco, they've got a lot more moving pieces this offseason than the last few since they had to pay Brock Purdy. So I love the under, but I would take San Francisco minus 1.5 too.
Yeah, I'm pretty similar with you. I probably say my best favorite play of this game is the under 45 and a half. I think Seattle's defense is really good, and I think Seattle's offense is a huge mystery. I don't love San Francisco's defense, but I think they'll be able to do enough against Sam Darnold and that new crew. I hate both these teams going into the season. Another one of these games where they split the
Yep.
series last year, so I'm actually going to take the home team. I'll take Seattle plus 1.5. Don't love it. Like I said, I like the under better. But 49ers, you mentioned they're very beat up coming into the year. You got Brandon
Yep.
Ayuk, you got Juwan Jennings, who just suffered a re-aggravation of a calf injury. You got Malik Mustafa. Like, if you look at their depth chart right now, there's like 10 dudes with questionable things right now. Now,
Right.
it's still enough time that they, projecting to be healthy, but this is a team that has struggled health wise, and they're only 6-11 last year. Like, again, I'm on the under for both these teams. I don't like them coming in the year, but I will take the home dog. I think I could see these two teams splitting the series again, so I'll take the home dog there. Another one I do expect come season, barring any major injuries, that this will probably float closer to San Francisco. So if you are on Derek's side, like San Francisco, I would probably encourage you to bet that now. Um, all right, we're heading over to the 4:25 Eastern time slate here, where we got the Detroit Lions, another division rivalry here. We just came off one too. Division rivalry game. Detroit Lions heading over to the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau Field. Detroit catching plus 1.5, plus 105 on the money line. Green Bay laying 1.5, minus 125 on the money line. Over under sitting at 48.5. Really should be a good game. Tough
Yeah.
division. How do you see it?
Yeah, I'm pretty high on both of these teams coming into it, but I'll take the 1.5 on basically a pick 'em.
Right.
So yeah, give me the Lions. Both of these teams, like I said, I'm pretty high on. I do expect the Lions to end up winning the division, but Green Bay is just kind of steady Eddie at this point compared to Detroit, who had a lot of moving pieces, including both coordinators. Until we know a little bit more on how that offense is going to run, if the defense is going to be as strong as it was last year, even though it had a shit ton of injuries.
Right.
Yeah, give me the Lions while everybody's healthy.
Yeah, that's a great point you made. It's tough. It's going to be close. You should project to be two good teams, two playoff teams from last year. But yeah, give me the Lions. Their defense is healthy. You said it. Right now, at this point, they're healthy. They're going to be as healthy as I think they're going to be.
Yep.
It's going to be a tough game, but when we look at this teams, like I think we can agree, like these teams didn't. There are some of the teams that didn't make drastic changes. These are two
Right.
teams kind of running it back roster wise. And when we look at when this game was in Green Bay last year, it was 24-3. The Lions were up late in the third quarter. Green Bay made that a little bit more respectable at the end, but a little bit in garbage time. So
Yep.
I just don't think Green Bay is quite at that level.
Right.
So yeah, give me the Lions right now, catching a 1.5. Another one. We'll get to the bets and the locks at the end, but another one where I could definitely see flipping to Detroit, being the favorite in this one.
Yep.
All right, last three games on the slate. Last one in the afternoon window. We got the Houston Texans catching 3 points as they head to the West Coast to take on the LA Rams. LA Rams -3, -162 on the money line. Houston plus 136 road dogs. Over under sitting at 45.5. How do you see this one playing out?
This was probably the toughest one for me, just because I am higher on Houston than you are.
Right.
Um, but I think at home the Rams end up taking this one. So give me the Rams at -3. This is one that if you're on the Rams, I would definitely take it now because, like you said, it'll probably end up growing a little bit, and that hook might end up getting some people, but. Yeah, give me the Rams.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I like that. I'm right there. I mean, like you said, I'm higher on them than you are, and I'm lower on the Texans than you are. Houston's coming in. Tank Dell's not going to be a factor. Who knows what Joe Mixon's going on with that ankle foot thing?
Yeah,
Now for the Rams, left tackle Eric Jackson, dealing with those blood clots. He's the question mark, but they did bring
right.
in, I believe, Humphreys.
Yes.
in free agency. So they do have a viable backup for him as opposed to a lot of other years where they're just scrapping together something. So,
Right.
yeah, I know I like the Rams. I think that they have much better offensive weapons. I think they have, I think both defenses are younger and good. I like both these defenses actually. But for me, I trust Stafford and Puka and Devontae Adams and Kyron Williams a lot more than CJ Stroud and Nico Collins. And that's kind of it for them.
Yeah.
So, especially their offensive line, I think, the Texans' offensive line was kind of going the opposite direction, a lot of change. The Rams were kind of figuring out a little bit by necessity, but they kind
Yeah.
of got a lot of guys some quality playing time. So, give me the Rams there, the home team, to get it done. We're heading on to the Sunday night football where we have a rematch of the AFC divisional game, I believe. The
Hmm.
Baltimore Ravens and the Buffalo Bills should be an awesome, awesome way to end an awesome, awesome day in week one. Baltimore at plus 1.5, plus 102 on the money line. Buffalo catching 1.5, minus 122 on the money line. Over under sitting at 51.5 here. What say you, my friend? So we had the Ravens beat them in the regular season, and then Buffalo beat them in the playoffs. So now we're back in the
Yeah.
regular season. Where are we at?
Correct. Yeah, I am sadly on the Ravens on the money line in this one. You
Ooh.
talked about Denver having one hell of a secondary. Have you looked at Baltimore's secondary with Kyle
Right,
Hamilton and Jair Alexander and Marlon
right.
Humphreys and Starks coming in? I mean, their defense, historically has been absolutely solid. I think they can lock down any receiver that Buffalo throws at them, and their offense is gonna keep humming with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry and Andrews and all those guys. So sadly, I am on the Ravens.
Yeah, no, this was a tough one. These is two teams that dominate the regular season historically.
Yep.
They are good. So this was tough for me. Two really good teams. I'm gonna go Buffalo. Gonna go with the home team. I think the home edge is a factor there. I know it won't be. Weather should be fine, but
Yeah.
Bills Mafia, I think, can get it done here. I agree. They do have a solid secondary in Baltimore, but I think that the Bills are going to be able to run the ball. I think the Bills have one of the best offensive lines. I think they can get things going. I think they can get creative in the passing game. But yeah, it's hard to argue, really. I think both sides have a great case. At this point, it really is a coin flip. So I'm basically taking home field advantage is kind of what it boils down to. Not a great, analysis on this one because it's tough. These are really
Yeah. No
these are
doubt.
teams that dominate the regular season, very solid rosters, running it back. We saw split the series last year. So just give me the home team there is what I'm going with. All right, last game on the slate for NFL Week 1. We've got another division rivalry here. The Minnesota Vikings heading over to Chicago to take on the Bears there. Minnesota catching 1.5 points, plus 100 on the money line. Bears are laying minus 1.5, minus 120 on the money line. Over under sitting at 44.5 here. This is interesting. This is two teams that Minnesota outperformed by everyone's metric last year. I think they won like 14 games, whereas the Bears, were pretty damn disappointing. But now we
Right.
have the Bears as home favorites. What say you?
Yeah. Give me the Bears at minus 1.5. I think um, ultimately the Bears' biggest issue last year was protecting Caleb Williams, and that
Right.
that offensive line was just atrocious. And they spent a lot of money and a lot of resources to really bolster up that unit. I think it really pays off with between that Ben Johnson coming in and his offensive mind to help ring Caleb Williams in, hopefully, maybe. Who knows?
Right.
And from Minnesota's standpoint, you basically have a rookie quarterback starting on the road in the NFL, which is never a recipe for success. So, yeah, another tough one here, but give me the Bears laying the points.
Yeah, we will end in agreement here. On the Bears, this is one of one of the few teams, the hype teams of the offseason that I'm actually buying into. Derek talked about it. I love teams that build from the trenches, build from the inside out. They address the offensive line, they address the defensive line. They have the weapons, they have the genius offensive coordinator, and you have a rookie making a start on the road. I love the Bears in this one. Give me the Bears minus 1.5. All right. We've went through and broke down every single game in NFL Week 1, and we're going to make it nice and simple for you because we're going to do 2 locks and a dog. What we are putting our money on and have already put our money on right
Yep.
now, and encourage you to do this despite it being our way too early Week 1 picks. So I will let you start off with, why don't you just go through your 2 locks and a dog, and then I'll finish this up.
Let's do it. Give me Arizona minus 5.5. I just think that the New Orleans Saints are going to be one of the worst teams in the league
Right.
this season. So give me Arizona. Give me Miami on the money line. I just think that, early on in the season, Tua is healthy. That offense absolutely flies. Like I said earlier, in a dome. Give me Miami. And then the Jacksonville Jaguars at -3, going up against the Carolina Panthers. I just think that the Carolina Carolina made a lot of good improvements. I just don't know if it will all click
Right.
week 1. And Jacksonville had a lot of kind of 50-50 games last year where they just let things slide away. So give me the Jags at -3.
Yeah, no, I mean, I have no arguments with any of those picks. I'm on all the same sides, so much so that my first lock is the Arizona Cardinals. If you can get that, -5.5, I think anything under a touchdown here is a steal.
Yep.
Whether it's Jake Kane or Spencer Rattler or Tyler Shook, I think this Arizona team is just much, much better. Kyler's, going to be healthy. I think Marvin Harrison, Trey McBride, like the roster is just so much better. So give me Arizona there. I also love Denver, another big favorite, -7.5,
Mhm.
-115. You got a rookie quarterback on the road against what I think is the best defense in the NFL. Good luck. So I love Denver there. And then my money line dog, another small dog like you, Detroit. Give me Detroit. I think they're the better
Okay.
team. On the money line, +105 there. A situation where teams are kind of running it back, very similar rosters. They were swept
Yep.
them last year. They really kind of beat them down in Green Bay last season. I don't think that, Jordan Love, I don't trust to make that jump there. They didn't really do
Sure.
anything that makes me think that they're a better roster. And Detroit's defense is going to be healthy, which, isn't always the case. So Derek's going with Arizona and Jacksonville as the favorites, and then Miami on the money line. I'm going with Arizona and Denver, and then taking Detroit on the money line. That is the NFL Week 1 way too early picks. Of course, we just kind of speed race through all the Week 1 games. Come Week 1, you're going to want to stay tuned, see what picks made it, didn't make it. We'll obviously be throwing some props in there, and we'll kind of have a different show structure for you. But we
Yep.
want to run through this fun exercise. If this kind of piqued your interest of, hey, why'd they pick that team, whatever, 8 division previews out every single day. A team previews coming out. So you can take an in-depth look, whether it's at the whole division or just one team in particular. Go check out our page. And if you made it to this point, we appreciate any likes, subscribes. We're talking football, and we're going to make you some money this year. What do you got for the people before we get out of here?
Yeah, keep tuning in over here at IDP Plus Bets, because we're going to be throwing even more content out, including things like player awards. Who are we betting to win Rookie of the Year, MVP, those kind of things. We haven't thrown out our Super Bowl picks, our AFC champions, our NFC champions.
Right.
So we'll be talking a little bit more, much more in the future in terms of playoff picks and awards kind of stuff. We're going to be doing a college football episode before the
Yep.
college football season kicks off. So tune back in. We got all kinds of
Absolutely.
stuff coming.
Yeah, Derek's hit the points. We'll do awards. We'll do futures, college football. Right, we're going to be doing
Yep.
that this year. So on the bet side, we've got you covered. And then if you want some fantasy football, first of all, we got some great co-hosts doing a lot of IDP defensive. We handle the offensive stuff, so we'll be doing a best ball draft, trying to win $2 million. We'll be
Right.
talking about what guys you should avoid due to injury risk, what guys are bounce back candidates, who our guys are for the NFL season. Like, if you want fantasy, check out the IDP Plus page. If you want the bets content, stay here, like, subscribe, and let's make some money this season. Fun episode. We're jacked about football. We hope this got you
Oh
just
yeah.
jacked. I feel like once I saw Harbaugh hitting those pads of Trey Lance, I knew it's time, baby. We had to jump in here and get an episode in. So,
That's right.
hey, folks, we appreciate you. Enjoy your weekend. Have a safe weekend. Cheers to you, folks. We appreciate it. From the DJ and Doc and Professor Locks here at IDP Plus Bets, we are out of here.
Thank you for watching the IDP Plus YouTube network. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Be sure to tap the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload new content.